Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast powered by Mellow Seltzer. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Brooklyn Nets in a game that frankly would be by no means an easy one. After all, we're talking about a Brooklyn Nets team that was coming in winning 6 of their last 7 games, fielding the best defensive rating in basketball over that stretch at 103.4. And honestly, this was a slugfest early on and throughout stretches of the second half even. Obviously, both of these teams are coming off an all-star break, as all teams are, but it just felt like the Cavaliers were in a rut early on. There was definitely some rust coming out of the gate as Cleveland nearly ceded a lead to Brooklyn after they went on a 7-0 run in that first quarter, pulling to within 16-15 midway through the first until an Evan Mobley triple really got things going again. But that rust was certainly felt. A lot of uncharacteristic turnovers to start. From basically everybody, from all the ball handlers. I think they had 5 or 6 in the first quarter alone, as everybody just kind of looked a little bit rusty out there. And it's understandable. It's a pretty long layoff for both teams. So I wasn't too upset about that one, considering the context of the situation. Both offenses for both teams were sluggish to start. Cleveland's defense actually managed to hold Brooklyn to 19 in the first quarter, which is great. But the offense only scored 24 in that first frame, which was actually the 6th lowest first quarter total for the Cavs all season long. And as they completed just 34.8% of their field goals, including 3 of 13 from distance, or rather 23.1% in that first quarter. They needed to get rolling. And I thought they would, at least in that first half. And we got fooled early on because it started with Ty Jerome. His pull-up triple at about the 8:29 mark was the key in sparking a little run to pull ahead 34-29. Ditto for an Isaac Okoro triple. We know Isaac made his long-awaited return to the court tonight and almost immediately made an impact by drilling that triple in a left-hand corner, which was nice to see because he had been shooting basically 50% from three-point distance prior to that shoulder injury, which he sustained against the same fucking team in the Brooklyn Nets, who Ben Simmons is no longer a part of. Person that caused that injury in the first place. He is off in LA with the Clippers right now, but it was nice to see Isaac kind of getting that shot going early on. But the real pivotal piece in this one early on was Darius Garland. Just kept the Cavs ahead for certain stretches of this game in that first half. And he just makes shit look so effortless out there. Whether he's using that dribble to get to a favorable spot to get his floater, or pulling up and knocking down step back triples, he just makes things look so damn easy. I want to say he scored 9 in that second quarter from each zone, whether it was at the rim, in the mid-range area, or from deep. And Cleveland as a team in that second quarter shot just 35%, going 8 of 23 in the process. The problem was Brooklyn, they just would not lie down. They would not die. They kept on scratching and clawing their way back into it, whether that be with additional opportunities via the offensive rebound or knocking down timely triples from the corners, as we saw throughout. And they scored 13 second chance points in that first half alone, if I'm not mistaken, to Cleveland's 3. A huge reason for this, obviously, was the work of one Nicholas Claxton, who pulled down, I want to say, 5 offensive rebounds in the opening half, which is not ideal, which would result ultimately in Brooklyn pulling ahead 50-48. The Cavs additionally got out rebounded by a wide margin. I want to say it was 30 plus to 22. The second half did not necessarily start out any better, to be honest, as Brooklyn, though not truly efficient, still managed to be more efficient through the early stretches of that third quarter than the Cavs were. Cam Johnson started to come to life a little bit, drilling triples and knifing his way inside. And the Cavs, they frankly struggled at certain points of this game to pull down the rebounds. That was what was making this one such a tough and tightly contested matchup throughout many stretches of this game. And as I said, Nicholas Claxton was at the forefront of that for Brooklyn. Luckily, Jarrett Allen was more than up to the task as the game wore on. But earlier on, man, it was really, really frustrating to watch. And it kind of highlighted one of the areas that this team still lacks, and a lot of people still complain about, including myself at times, and that is the lack of a true third big. As we know that Dean Wade and DeAndre Hunter and Isaac Okoro and a couple other names are going to be functioning effectively as that third big for now. And, with the staggering of Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, one of those two guys will play minutes with the backup. So you kind of shuffle things about. So maybe the team just feels that they don't need to address that area just yet. And that's why we got some of these moves that we got over the break. But certainly nights like tonight where you see Nicholas Claxton absolutely dogging this team on the glass, it really, really highlights some of the problems that they have there, especially on, with the reserves, not really having a true tested, reliable third option to turn to in minutes without Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen out there. Now, there are some names that we're going to talk about. I see it in the chat below. I'll get to it, I promise. Naquan Tomlin, that's who everybody probably wants to talk about in this one. I'll definitely touch base on his production tonight, which was awesome to see in the final minutes of this one. But man, it was not pretty early on. Thankfully, the Cavaliers came to play in the, I would say, midway through the third and down the fourth. And like I said, the Cavs would not be held down forever. They went on a 13-0 surge, courtesy of one Darius Garland. This guy, man, he accounted for 9 straight points over the course of a couple of possessions in that third. And I think they said it was the 52nd time that they had gone on such a run all season long. And in total, they would go on, they would end up going on a 20-8 run in the final 5 minutes and 30 seconds of that third to pull ahead 83-77 heading into the fourth and final frame. And unfortunately for Brooklyn, that was basically all she wrote. It was basically over at that point as the Cavs kicked off that fourth in style with a pair of DeAndre Hunter pull-up triples and an Evan Mobley slam. And speaking of DeAndre Hunter, he has now drilled 9 triples in his first 3 games as a Cavalier, if I am not mistaken. This team just absolutely loves the presence that he brings to the table. I think I have some clips lined up here. Hopefully I didn't forget to pull the audio this time. But yeah, this is one of the drives that he had earlier on. Alpha timely feed from Jarrett Allen, who got the offensive rebound. You love to see that. But him getting that rim pressure and generating the contacts prior to joining the Cavaliers, I believe he was 37th in the league in free throw attempts, which is big time to add to this team. As we know, the Cavaliers struggle with getting to the rim at times, or at least generating contact. Look at that. Look at that shit. That is beautiful. I mean, wing creation is an underrated area. Everybody wants to talk about the wing, the defense on the perimeter from the wings. Nobody talks about the wing creation. And I think adding Hunter, who is a very, very capable scorer as a reserve or a starter at the 3 or 4, that is something he can bring to the table. Another pull-up triple. That is his 9th as a Cleveland Cavalier. And I think it's just going to keep on rolling as time goes on. You love to see that from DeAndre Hunter. That was one of the specific reasons I think that they acquired him, being able to bring that to the table. And I think as he gets more and more acclimated to the offense that this team runs, I'm not going to mince words here. There are certainly points throughout where he looks still a little unsure of where he's supposed to be out there, but good ball players just know they know how to turn it on. And DeAndre Hunter, to me, is a great basketball player. And I think he can add a lot, especially on the defensive end. It won't always be pretty, but I definitely believe that as time goes on, especially as the playoffs draw near, they're going to lean on him more and more. And frankly, I love it, whether he's starting or coming off the bench. As long as he's playing a high-minute role for this Cavaliers team, I love it. I think that I can't wait to see how the rest of the season plays out for him. But Hunter wasn't the only person that made an impact in this game. As I had mentioned, Darius Garland, this dude, this fucking guy, he was absolutely cooking tonight, just orchestrating that offense. I think I also have clips for him. as he has looked feeding Donovan Mitchell. That was one of the first buckets. I think that might have been the first bucket of the game for Cleveland, that Donovan Mitchell triple in the left-hand corner over there falling away. And you get the floater here, scoop and score. It's just beautiful shit from our all-star guard who didn't take away the three-point trophy, but man, look at this. Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Beautiful shot making from Darius Garland, who was locked in tonight, whether he was getting his guys involved from all over or he was taking it upon himself to bring the Cavs back into the game. And that's absolutely what we saw in that third quarter and beyond, is he just basically got everybody involved. And look at that. Beautiful dump off pass to Evan Mobley, something that we had become honestly accustomed to seeing Caris LeVert do time and time again with the bigs, whether that be Jarrett Allen or Evan Mobley. Darius Garland is very underrated at that as well. So you absolutely appreciate the orchestration of the offense from Darius. He had a number of finds like that tonight. The floater there. He was locked in all game long, and I don't think you could really ask anything more of him tonight than what he brought to the table. And I think we could all appreciate what he was able to do tonight, as he would finish the game with 18 points on 6 of 12 from the field and dished out 9 huge assists. Wasn't the most efficient from three-point range, but I'll take it. The orchestration within itself is something that kind of gets this team going. Look at that. Look. For those of you streaming via audio, Darius Garland just absolutely cooked right there with the handle as he found Jarrett Allen, another dump-off pass. Just absolutely beautiful basketball. Look at that. Knifing inside. This one forced a timeout on Brooklyn's end. Look at Emoni Bates there, all hyped up. Finding Isaac Okoro on that one. Just look at that. So much effort that you're seeing from this guy. You just know that he has enjoyed every single minute of this season. The revenge tour for him after everybody wanted to throw his ass out with the bathwater. I just love it, man. I seriously do. And I know that it sounds like I'm hyping this guy up against the Brooklyn Nets team that, frankly, everybody was expecting them to beat. But, man, this to me just shows you that anybody on this team is capable of taking over at the drop of a hat. As you got numerous performances tonight from the likes of Darius Garland. You had Donovan Mitchell going all for 26. And speaking of Donovan Mitchell, I know I'm not the only person that saw this tonight, but Donovan literally tried to dunk it home over the Nets, like with serious bad intentions, like on 3 or 4 different occasions. He didn't get any of them. But I'll take it. I love the ferocity. He did draw a ton of contact out there. He got to the line quite often, but these are dunks that he likely finishes last year and the year prior to that. And am I going to use that as a talking point? No. But what I will say is this. I enjoyed the enthusiasm that he plays with out there. I don't know if it's something extra that he has for the Brooklyns and the New York teams of the world, but man, Donovan Mitchell tried to dunk people into oblivion tonight on more than a few occasions. And I think that we can all appreciate that. This is coming in a season where people are discussing whether or not his athleticism is declining and whether or not you subscribe to that belief or not. Seeing him go out there and trying to basically put guys on posters, how can you not love that? Really? How can you not love that? He would finish tonight with 26, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, just 8 of 21 from the field, 3 of 9 from three-point distance. But I'll take it, 7 of 10 from the line. And I thought that his offensive bursts, his runs tonight were really critical in getting this team over the hump at stretches where it just looked like Brooklyn was matching every single run that they had. And Donovan Mitchell was key, along with Darius Garland and a few others, in making sure that they kept pace with Brooklyn and then eventually taking the lead and closing this one out. But Donovan was pretty awesome tonight, despite what could be considered inefficiency. But I'll tell you what, somebody who really, really played lights out tonight, Jarrett Allen, 16 points, 20 rebounds in just about 25 minutes of action. You love to see that shit. 8 of 9 from the field. Very, very efficient, as we have been accustomed to with Jarrett Allen over the years. But, playing against your old team, you have to feel like Jarrett Allen always is going to have something for Brooklyn. And I think that when Brooklyn looks back at moving on from Jarrett Allen, letting Kobe Altman come in and just pick him up and acquire him in that James Harden deal, basically for nothing. Let's just call a spade a spade. He absolutely cooked in acquiring Jarrett Allen, and it's paid off year after year after year. And I think Jarrett Allen, if he plays his cards right, could very well retire a Cleveland Cavalier at this point. Now, I know a lot of people probably still don't subscribe to the long-term belief of the core four, and a lot of those people that are saying that are probably not fans of the Cavs or rival execs. And I know a lot of this still depends upon the long-term development of Evan Mobley, but Jarrett Allen, man, he has been as steadying of a presence as there have ever been in the city of Cleveland. And to see him go out there tonight and grab 20 rebounds in a game where, frankly, it just felt like Brooklyn was getting to every rebound out there. And to be clear, Cleveland would end up, they pulled down 70, as crazy as it sounds, Cleveland pulled down 71 rebounds tonight. They had, actually, I don't think that's accurate. I don't know what the heck that the NBA.com is saying over here, but that does not seem accurate to me. I'm going to have to look at that. But they pulled down a shit ton of rebounds. Jarrett Allen was a huge factor in that. And it often felt at times as if Brooklyn was pulling down everything that came their way tonight. And Nick Claxton, again, was a huge part of that. Zaire Williams was on the glass. Even D'Angelo Russell at times, it felt like he gave it his all to try and get on the glass out there. He didn't finish with any rebounds, but he tried his best out there. It honestly felt as if Brooklyn really got to everything tonight. And the rebounding battle was 52-45 Cleveland. So it did not feel like Cleveland won this. And I think a lot of that production came in the second half from Cleveland as they got out rebounded, obviously big time in that first half. I love the fact that they just kind of flipped the switch at times. And this is when we see these huge avalanches occur. Again, they went on a 20-8 run to end that third quarter. Like the last 5 minutes and 30 seconds of that third was basically all Cleveland. All Cleveland. And more than that, it was basically all Darius Garland as he scored or assisted on bucket after bucket after bucket, or got to the line, or just did this and that often require Brooklyn to try and pivot and switch gears, and it did not work. Cleveland just pulled away, and sometimes you're going to win like this. It felt like an ugly win, and that is absolutely what it was. Was not pretty by any means, but considering the rust that occurred due to the break, right, that cannot be discounted. Everybody has been off for a week plus. I mean, I'm not going to use that as too big of an excuse, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Cleveland turned the ball over 16 times tonight. Brooklyn turned the ball over 15 times tonight. And as I have often said, Cleveland is a team that does not really turn the ball over a ton, right? They're in like the top 5 in terms of turnovers per game this season. I think 13 or 14 per game that they're giving the ball away. It's not something that happens with a lot. It just does not happen a lot. Tonight, they did turn it over 16 times, but they rounded it out and they started to take a little bit more control and handle the ball a little bit more carefully in that second half. It was just the first half that really felt like, they were a little bit too sloppy with it. And it was coming from everybody, whether that be Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland or, frankly, Ty Jerome, anybody that was out there handling the rock. It felt like there was a turnover occurring. And it's something that happens, but get the rust out of the way now, because you got a big matchup tomorrow against the New York Knicks. That is one that I think a lot of people are looking forward to, including myself, and I cannot wait to react with you guys to that one. But tonight, although it wasn't pretty, it was definitely a win that they had to dig deep and pull away. And I think that everybody played a role in that. Now, the one player of the acquisitions, because Cleveland was busy over this break, right? They acquired the services of Naquan Tomlin on a 10-day deal. I absolutely love that addition. And to those of you who've been watching the channel for a little bit of time now, you guys know that that I have become a fan of Tomlin. And the work that work he has shown, the work ethic and the progress that he has shown with the Cleveland Charge this season, where he's been absolutely brilliant, absolutely a brilliant 5-game stretch. And I think that is what allowed the Cavaliers to kind of reward his efforts. And you saw that play out in the form of a 10-day contract, 10-day deal. And then to top it off, everybody's waiting on what would occur on the buyout market, whether that be a backup with big or a some additional wing depth. And we got the latter, right? A name that kind of came out of nowhere, pretty unexpected. It was definitely on some people's radars, but not in serious contention. And that was Javonte Green. Everybody was expecting a big to be acquired, but to the people out there that wanted that to occur, just look at the names that are available right now. It is a who's who of misfits, miscast, developmental pieces, and fringe NBA players. It could get better, I suppose, by the March 1st deadline. Once Naquan Tomlin's 10-day contract runs out, if they decide they want to go that route, they still can. But that is assuming that the market for bigs gets better, and that is by no means a given. So they got Javonte Green, a very, very serviceable player at this point in his career. At 31 years of age, this guy can still be an effective piece of a rotation, whether that be regular season or as playoff depth. He is a very, very good perimeter defender. Now, you guys, if you watched the channel recently, you saw the video that I released on him. He is a high level, and when I say this, I mean this to a T. He is a high level defender out on the wings. When in terms of perimeter isolation defense, he ranks within the 90th percentile, with receiving an A grade there. Ball screen navigation, the 93rd percentile, A. Off ball chaser defense, 64th percentile, but he still receives a B minus grade in that. Then pickpocket rating, 76th percentile, B plus. Passing lane defense, guys that get out there and get deflections like we have seen from Ty Jerome and Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell this season. Those three are the top three for the Cavs this season, if I'm not mistaken, prior to the DeAndre Hunter acquisition. But Javonte Green adds to that. He can get out in the passing lanes, force a lot of turnovers, and create transition opportunities for teams. He did that for New Orleans a lot this year, and he is in the 94th percentile in that category this year. And he is joining the Cavaliers. So that's clear waivers, and I think that once he does become available, I don't know if it's been reported yet. I don't know if he'll be able to suit up tomorrow against New York, but I always tell people you can never have enough wing depth. You can never have enough Dean Wade insurance. Specifically, to me, the acquisition of Javonte Green feels heavily like it is geared towards preparing for a potential injury to either Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, or DeAndre Hunter. And adding a wing, even though he's a bit undersized in a lot of people's eyes at 6'4", 6'5"-ish, he's got a 7-foot wingspan. And I think that absolutely helps him go out there and affect things on the perimeter. Not necessarily the biggest guy out there, but he plays bigger than his listed height. And Cleveland has a lot of they have a lot of history with players like this who play above their height. Isaac Okoro is another guy that can defend 1 through 4, depending upon the matchup. Javonte Green can defend 1 through 4. You have Dean Wade, who is multi-positional from a defensive standpoint. DeAndre Hunter can do a lot of these same things. But adding Green, that definitely helps as well. But Green did not suit up tonight. Who did? Naquan Tomlin, the Cavaliers' other acquisition. And though it came during the latter stretches of the game, he would record his first NBA points. The first came on a foul call. I think I have that here. The other, there he is, like there, looking nervous as hell. Drawing the foul, drawing the contact. And the second came on a nice basket inside. Well, it'll probably pull up here in just a second, but man, to see Tomlin get his first NBA points, I always wonder to myself what goes through the mind of a young NBA player. I think Tomlin's just 24 years old. There he is right there. Look at the footwork. That is beautiful. got some nice touch. And keep in mind, he's about 6'9", 6'10" out there. Not the beefiest guy out there, but he does have true like big size. If you consider him a big wing or a big man, I don't know what the Cavaliers consider him. Well, what I can say is that he does have the potential to play minutes at the 4 and maybe even small ball 5. I don't know. I don't know how the Cavaliers view him, but as a developmental piece, somebody that you can keep in house, and that was the case when they ended up signing him and waiving him. They originally signed him on an Exhibit 10 contract, which kept him in house and allowed him to play for the Cleveland Charge. And then giving him that 10-day contract, they make it so nobody can come in and scoop him up. And I think that is pretty awesome, rewarding a guy for the progress that he has shown at the G League level. And then whatever decision they decide to make with Tomlin, whether that is converting him to a standard deal or giving him a second 10-day contract or just simply allowing him to go back to the Charge. I think that you now have the ability over these next couple of days to truly evaluate what he brings to the table. And I know any minute that he gets during these actual NBA games is likely to occur in garbage time of a blowout. I wouldn't necessarily consider tonight a blowout, but there have been games this season in which the Cavaliers have afforded some of their deeper reserves. Your Luke Travers, your Craig Porter Jr.'s, your JT Thors and Emoni Bates of the world. They have been able to give these guys, 5 or 6 minutes at the end of games. And I think that could be the case for Tomlin over the next couple of games. Although I don't know, because you got a pretty strong matchup in the Knicks coming up. You have one against Boston. I think you have a Memphis game. These are not matchups that should be taken lightly. And I don't know how much run, if any at all, assuming Cleveland isn't blown out themselves. I don't think that'll happen. But if each one of these is a contest down the stretch, as it could be, this might be the only time that we actually see Tomlin. So take it in. And I love it because he was actually able to record his first NBA points. And I think we can all appreciate that. Whether or not you believe he is in the long-term plans for this Cavs team, you kind of send a message to the Charge players, everybody that's on that Charge roster right now, that, hey, if you work hard enough, you can be rewarded for the work that you put in. And I think that is a good move from an organizational standpoint. You develop guys, you send a clear message that your work will pay off at certain points, and to stay ready, right? Wait and keep competing, and maybe your opportunity will come. And I think that's pretty awesome for the Cavaliers to do. So props to the organization, Kobe Altman and company, and props to Naquan Tomlin for showing out enough to potentially earn his way onto the contract. That just, to me, it's good business, right? From an organizational standpoint, it is good business. So really nice to see Naquan make his NBA debut tonight. I'm hoping we see Javonte Green pretty soon, but I love it, man. I absolutely love the fact that the Cavaliers would not do that. To the chat we go. Divinity Evil says, Donovan been trying to catch souls. Yeah, I mean, again, I think there were 3 or 4 different times tonight where he attempted to jam it home on a Brooklyn Nets defender, whether that be Nicholas Claxton or somebody else out there. It definitely felt like Donovan tried to end somebody. Cleveland Cavaliers says, let's go 45-10. 55 games in, this team is now 45-10. You'll love to see it. Sam Hollick says, play Tomlin more. Frankly, with the schedule that the Cavaliers have, this might be the one time, if the Cavaliers are locked into tough matchups over these next couple of games that they have, I don't know what the availability of Tomlin will be. I don't know if they will look at him and say, hey, go ahead and give him some minutes. I just don't know, because you got Boston coming up. You got New York tomorrow. You have Memphis. I think it is not going to be a easy time for Tomlin to get on the court. So over their next 5, you have New York, you have the Grizzlies, you got Orlando, who is making a playoff push as well. You have Boston, and you got the Trailblazers. Now, today is February 20th. The 10-day will run out by that Trailblazers game. So they'll have a decision to make if they're going to give him another 10-day contract. Maybe we could see him against the Blazers, but honestly, unless it's a blowout, or Cleveland just gets annihilated in one of these next 4 games, I don't see Tomlin touching the court again, unless somebody is injured and you need to play. You need to give some of your deeper rotation, where your deeper rostered pieces, an opportunity. I just don't see it happening, but I hope so. I truly do. I hope they beat the brakes off of New York tomorrow, and that gives way to Tomlin and company. But I don't know. It's tough. These are some tough matchups the Cavaliers have coming up. Cleveland Cavalier says we're taking care of business. Carter Rodriguez, what's up? Chasedown podcast co-host says Ayo. Sven Reek says Sam was 0 of 5 from 3, but still had a plus minus of 26. Like, this is the thing about Sam, right? I posted earlier while watching the game that I continue to be impressed with the defensive effort that he gives you consistently, right? 1 of 6 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3-point distance. Finished with just 2 points tonight, yet was plus 26, highest plus minus on the entire team. I think highest plus minus in the entire game, to be honest with you. And a lot of that is because of the hustle that he gives you, right? And a lot of that does come on the defensive end. Now, Merrill himself, he's not somebody that you would consider a lockdown defender, but if you look at some of the individual statistics from a defensive standpoint, it is kind of impressive given the type of player that Merrill is. He's not the most athletic. He's not the tallest guy out there, not the quickest either, but he does some things that genuinely leave me impressed, right? His screen navigation, that's one thing. He is in the 98th percentile on ball screen navigation per B-ball index this season, receiving an A+ grade. His off-ball chaser defense, which is, following these shooters around the court, right? Whether they're going around screens or just flying up and down the court, or in the half court, rather. Sam has been very, very good at that. He's in the 97th percentile in that area, also another A+. As perimeter isolation defense in that category, he's about middle of the pack. He's got a C- ranking and he's in the 40th percentile. So not necessarily something to write home about, but it's respectable, right? It is respectable enough to give him minutes. And considering that 3-point shot can explode at the drop of a hat for Merrill, that's why you consistently give him minutes if you're Kenny Atkinson, because he's capable of doing a lot of these different things that don't necessarily show up in the stat sheet. And a lot of that is on the defensive end this year, on as unbelievable as it sounds for Sam. So it's pretty cool to see him do that. Richard Hacker says Isaac needs time to get going. Yeah, I mean, coming off of that AC joint sprain injury in the shoulder of his shooting shoulder, I think that is something that took Dean Wade a long time to really and truly come back from. It was nice to see him drill that left corner triple rather, as soon as he got in the game, and hopefully that can get him rolling. Not necessarily the perfect game from Isaac, but I will take it. It was really nice to see him get back on the court. In his 16 minutes of action tonight, he would finish with 5 points, 2 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3-point range, and was a plus 16. So not bad at all for his first true game back. I think he looked a little bit rusty at points, but I love the effort that he gave on the defensive end and, frankly, on the glass, trying to get his hands on some boards out there. D. Jackson says, I thought the Nets was going to take this game for a minute. They fought hard. They did, right? It's always the games where teams come in that are technically what a lot of people would consider an inferior opponent, and Brooklyn certainly counts as such. But when you consider, again, they came in winners of 6 of their last 7 games. Over that last 7 games or so, they had the best defensive rating in basketball, and they were absolutely making life difficult on Cleveland in the early going. And while Cleveland eventually broke through that defense, Brooklyn is not somebody you can necessarily count out. I would not be surprised at all if they ended up scratching and clawing their way into a play-in spot. Let me make that distinction. All right. I don't think they're going to get into the playoffs, but I do think that they could be a small threat to make the play-in tournament, but we'll see. D. Jackson also says Garland is the man, most definitely. He was absolutely orchestrating this offense, cooking everybody, whether that be from 3-point range or with some of the floaters that he had out there, or frankly, some of the dump-off passes and driving kicks that he had. I thought that he wielded the power. Sam Hollick says Tomlin. Love to see him get into the game. Hopefully that continues. Mr. King 562 says Okoro looked solid in his return. I agree. Cavs King 2016 says Ty was rusty in the first half, but he got it together. Yeah, that pull-up triple at like the I want to say the 8-something mark in the third quarter, that really started to kick off the Cavs trying to pull ahead, and Darius Garland took it home. Carter Rodriguez says, gotta be a season low in assist. Darius had 9, the rest of the team had 10. I think so. It's along those lines. And I genuinely felt like the ball movement was there. And I think that it just simply boiled down to them not making the shots. There were definitely opportunities for them to do so. And I think a lot of that does boil down to the rust. But yeah, definitely felt like a season low in assist. Mr. King 562 says, if Merrill ain't making threes, he's unplayable. I would let him walk in the offseason and a re-up on Ty Jerome. I don't agree with that at all. But I can certainly understand having that point of view. I think that even when the shot is not falling, he has shown you time and time again that he can impact the game in a number of ways, whether that be forcing a turnover or playing some pretty solid defense out there or cutting to the basket or making plays for others. The shot is not the only thing that Sam Merrill offers, and I see that far too often for people. D. Jackson says up, and in Hunter. Yeah, Hunter has been awesome. 9 triples in his first 3 games as a Cavalier. Still looking to see some improvement in terms of the drive and kick game from him. Usually, in his time with Atlanta this season, it has often felt like a drive to the rim mostly resulted in a shot attempt and not necessarily a drive and kick. And I expected that to take an upswing as the Cavaliers, as he was acquired by Cleveland, because Cleveland has by far the best shooters of the 2 teams. And when you have shooters like that on the wings, out on the perimeter, you want to get them the ball. And DeAndre is certainly capable of driving that basketball. I just want to see him kick that ball out a little more. And I think as he gets further acclimated to the team, he will try and do so. But yeah, seeing him knock down those pull-up triples, that's fucking awesome. Because again, wing creation, as much as people talk about the wing defense and needing athletes to compete with like the Jason Tatums and the Jaylen Browns of the world, wing creation is something that the Cavaliers have lacked at times. I know many people don't necessarily consider Max Strus a true wing, and we know that if he needs to orchestrate the offense, he is capable of doing that. But to get a true to size wing out there that has that capability, I think that's going to pay off big time come the postseason. Beast Grill says, chippy ass game. F it, a win is a win. Obviously, yes, I agree with that 100%. I don't care if you win by 1 fucking point. A win is a win is a win. I'll take it all day long. Some wins look better than others, though. Beast Girls also says, Tomlin, welcome to the NBA. Hope he stays with the Cavs long term. I agree, man. I hope he stays with this team as well. Emoni says, JA 20 boards. Phenomenal work from Jarrett Allen tonight on that glass. And playing against Brooklyn, that has to feel good for him. Now, I don't think this factors. Actually, it does. Including tonight's game, Jarrett Allen has averaged 12.9 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 1.6 assists in 14 career games against Brooklyn. That includes tonight. He has shot 57.9% from the field. And honestly, it feels like Jarrett is always just giving it his all. He's averaging a double-double against his old team. How can you not love that? Seriously, how can you not love that? And, he arrived in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, in 2021. I think that was the time period that he arrived. First game against Brooklyn was January 20th of 2021. And he has a 10-4 record against Brooklyn now. So it's just, they're kicking themselves in the butt for trading Jarrett. Every time he plays them, it just probably makes them feel like it was a terrible decision. Especially for as little as they gave him away for. And, considering that James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, none of them are on the team anymore. Jarrett Allen was clearly the best piece to come out of that. Just some guy from Cleveland says, great coverage, Mac. Always try to catch your recaps. Keep it rolling. Appreciate you, brother. Truly do. You guys make it worthwhile to do these post-game live streams. And I know the channel has been growing pretty well these last couple of weeks, and you guys are a huge part in that and participating in these post-game live streams. So appreciate you guys. Amari says they were rusty, but they pulled off the W. Absolutely. And I think that's all that you can ask at points. Jay Quest says, agreed, promoting from within builds good culture. I think that's in a reference to Naquan Tomlin getting the call. I love it, man. You send a message to your G League guys and to the charged players that if you work hard enough and there's an opportunity, that opportunity can pay off. And whether or not they give him a second 10-day deal or convert one of the current two-ways and then give him that player's freed up two-way or straight up just sign him to a standard contract, whatever direction that this goes in, Naquan Tomlin can at the very least say that he played real NBA minutes and that he scored his first career points, which is pretty damn awesome in my book. I love that. Absolutely love that. Snacks Murda says, how you feel about Naquan Tomlin to contract? I think I kind of just answered it. I love it. I think that giving the guys the opportunity after they've shown out in the G League sends a message to the rest of your players down there that, hey, if you work hard enough, you can really get an opportunity. Cooper EA says, how did Naquan do? I am from Mariana, which is where he made a debut at Chipola College. I thought that, it was very, very minimal minutes, but he scored his first NBA points, right? Drawing contact and getting to the free throw line. And then he went back down on the, one of the next possessions and scored 2 more points. So given the context of the situation in garbage time, I was very, very proud of what he was able to do in his 3 minutes, right? Got just 3 minutes of action, but he did score 3 points, grabbed a rebound, went 1 of 1 from the field, 1 of 2 from the line. And while the plus minus will say -6, I thought that he genuinely did pretty damn good in his 3 minutes of action. Mr. King 562 says the streets will always remember Colin Sexton's game against the Nets. They will. That performance that he put on, keeping the Cavaliers in it and eventually beating the debut of the big 3 in Brooklyn. We're talking about Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. That will always live rent-free in my mind. I'm sure it will for a lot of you people out there as well. Very, very proud of that moment. Wherever Colin finishes his career, he'll always have a fan in me. Cooper EA also says, we are so proud of him. My dad is the team doctor here, and I am close to the team and everyone who's been here in the last 5 years. That's awesome to me. Pretty awesome stuff to hear in some of these live streams. A personal connection to Naquan, and hopefully he continues to get opportunities. I don't know if you heard earlier, Cooper, but Cavaliers got some pretty tough games on their schedule. With New York coming up, you got Memphis, you got Boston. Portland would probably be the most optimal opportunity for him to get minutes, assuming none of these games are truly blowouts and they're all close. But again, that is coming after his 10 days are up. So if they decide that they're going to re-sign him to another 10-day deal, convert his deal to a standard contract, or give him a 2-way contract if they decide to convert one of these other 2 ways that they have, hopefully he'll get another opportunity. But I just don't know, man. There's a lot of tough competition coming up, and tonight might have been his one true opportunity to make sort of a statement. And if that is the case, I think he sort of did that. D. Jackson says 27 more games left. How many of those you think we will win, Mac? Honestly, I think that this team is going to take some L's down the stretch as they try and prioritize health. And I think they should, right? We've seen that this team has, down the stretch of a season, they have lost numerous players in what effectively, probably can be referred to as somewhat meaningless. For seeding purposes, obviously, you want Cleveland to get that number 1 seed, but you don't want them to push these guys to the absolute brink just because we want to tie the franchise record or surpass it. But I certainly see this team competing for it. I just don't know if they'll be able to get enough wins to do that with some of the competition they have up here. Again, let's just go down the list here real quick before we head out of here. We have New York, we have the Grizzlies, we got Magic, we got Boston, we got the Trailblazers, Bulls, Heat, Hornets, Bucks, Nets, Grizzlies, Magic, Clippers, Kings, Suns, Jazz, Trailblazers again, Spurs, Pistons, Clippers, Knicks, Spurs, Kings, Bulls, Pacers, Knicks, Pacers. That is some tough competition. I'm not going to lie to you. Still a lot of time left. Hard to truly predict. But at 45-10, I feel pretty damn good about the direction that this team is heading in. Not truly sure how many they win, but they will take some losses. They're not going to go undefeated down the stretch. Sam Hollick says 23-4 rest of the year. Let's go. I think 23-4 is probably good. I would also be okay, frankly, with 21-6. I'd be fine with that as well. I prefer that they would break or tie the franchise record, but I'm not going to be pissed if they don't, as long as they're fully healthy entering the postseason. And I think acquiring a player like Javonte Hunter and whatever they decide to do with that final roster spot after Naquan's time expires on that 10-day, if they decide to convert his contract to standard or sign him to a standard deal rather, or sign him to another 10-day, there's some options that they can go with. But getting Javonte Green more specifically, that could pay dividends in keeping a guy like Dean Wade upright. We need him available, frankly, for some of the teams that we're going to see in the playoffs, right? Getting a player like Javonte Green is definitely going to help keep Dean Wade upright. Same could be said for DeAndre Hunter, another player that has frankly struggled with health, never played a full season's complement of games, but I guess that's kind of the norm these days for a lot of these guys. But that being said, still, you want to see Dean and Isaac and DeAndre healthy down the stretch. And I think Javonte can definitely help in that regard. So very, very hopeful that we could see him make his Cavalier debut maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Time will tell, but we will see him pretty soon. That said, as I always tell you guys, if you like to reach out to me, now you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to this Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot, send a review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I'll send you an invite. As I often say here, if you want to support the podcast in a small but meaningful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. The link will be in the description of this episode, and go Cavs.